Thank you. Sandy helped me by doing an intro for my book, little book, Wonder, and it was about Alice in Wonderland and different poems about Alice in Wonderland and The Wizard of Oz and the D.H. Lawrence Fox. And I think he liked this poem. I remember him liking this poem, so I'm going to read it. It's called The Chessboard. I was picking little things from different, elements of these things and then writing about it. So this was the chessboard. The great thing is having no mind, everyone controlling me. The red and white feelings as the skirt rustles, the comforting hoofs of a horse. I am nothing if not a plateau of emotion. It doesn't matter how things turn out. All I am is hurry or absence. All I know is someone will win and someone will lose. I prefer the dark feathers under a crow's wing to the flame of a healing candle. The pieces are wood or ivory, but not quite human. They scramble towards defeat, a good imitation of flesh. When you think of absence, think of me. I am the most dependable when I am black and white without complications. What would become of them without a pawn, a queen, a castle, or a bishop? Without the rustle of the world, I am stupid. I'm an empty field waiting for a black thunderbird to make me holy. Thank you. I wasn't going to read this, but I just was compelled because he was talking about the Pineys. And my grandmother was a very interesting lady. And she told us stories about the Lindbergh, kidnapping and all these different stories. And one of the stories she told us about was the Pineys and how they were, people that lived in the Pine Barrens and they would steal babies and all that. And we heard about the stories about the devil, the Jersey Devil. And she believed these stories. And back in those days, I don't think they had the same communication from town to town. So, Anyway, I decided to write about a story I had heard about a woman, and it's not me. Somebody got very upset and emailed me and said, I hope this wasn't you, but it's called Another Mary. And it was in a book of St. Peter's B-list. So you were talking about B-list before. I was afraid of sleeping so close to where my granny told me the Pineys lived. They pinched babies and had red eyes. If you were raised on these stories, you believed. My belly big with cowardice and fear, I hitchhiked to the Black Horse Pike and got a ride all the way from Absecon to Atlantic City. Our baby was born cold and white as the marble statues I prayed before. On the beach, the ocean folds and falls. One white candle hosts this miracle, shines and shines, competes with stars. I meet a new friend while I am squatting like an Indian, passing afterbirth and keening at the moon. He is younger than me, a man with ruddy cheeks and old track marks, and I say hallelujah, perhaps he would warm my backside until the right one came along. But we got separated somehow. I kept sleeping under the boards until I got up the nerve to try the woman's shelter on Baltic and Mediterranean avenues. I kissed Martha through the cell bars when I got caught stealing groceries, and when her pimp got us both out, I figured it was a sign from God, and I should think about calling my folks and ask if I could come back home. But then I found him, poking through the dumpster outside of that casino, and we could make a feast on the fat gambler's leavings. He remembered right away that my belly was flat, and he'd promised me a present when we were crying on the beach. We went into an all-night deli that sold rolls, pastrami, and notions. He paid for some bread, and I put 2 skeins of wool under my coat. We sat on a picnic bench in snow, scuttled sideways like crabs. I knit him a scarf and some fingerless gloves. If luck was with us, we would find a warm corner under the boardwalks to sleep, and in the morning, when all those white candles I had inside our wooden cave went out, and cold stars fell around the statue of the mother in the courtyard, I would begin a blanket to leave around her marble skin to warm that baby up. All right, well, I like writing about Uncle Ezra Pound, and some people don't like that, but I like writing about him. Yeah, I'm always saying he's my Uncle Ezra because everybody has it in them to be stupid sometimes, right? And so I was writing about all the Guggenheim stuff and the fact that the cigars was her grandfather went down on the Titanic because they dressed up like gentlemen, and he had a servant that was with him, and he was of color, and they wouldn't let him on the right lifeboat. So he said, if he can't get on a lifeboat, I'm not getting on it either. And he went down with the ship like a gentleman. So I was writing about cigars and whatnot, which reminded me of that. But I just think I'm gonna read about my Uncle Ezra because he cracks me up. As you know, what he did, during that whole time with the radio programs, he was like our first Howard Stern, and nobody realized that. That's really what he was, because what he wanted was to have a regular radio station where he could have wonderful music playing and do poetry and once in a while, and nobody went for that. Everyone hated that. So he gets a letter from FDR saying, well, we've cut you off. You're off. You're not part of our group anymore. So he gets angry and he starts doing the fascist fire talks that he did. And he ends up in the nut house, and famously Merwin goes to visit him and everything else. But he ends up moving back to Italy, and he becomes friends with Peggy Guggenheim, which I just found really amazing. And he liked her, and she liked him. And so there you go, two different people. But anyway, I call this Ezra. And he was interesting, too, because he was always picking on Gertrude Stein, and, they were always putting him on different broken furniture, so he'd break the furniture, then they'd be angry with him. I mean, he was really kind of a galoot that was always being picked on, and he was always helping everyone, giving them money, getting them out. He got T.S. Eliot out of the bags. So I defend him, and people get angry at me. They think I'm anti-Semitic for defending him. All right, and I'm not. Ezra. The real trouble with war is that it gives no one a chance to kill the right people. That's a quote from Ezra Pound. In Italy, after my brimstone chats, they kept me in a 6-by-6-foot death cell, a cage really, because my poems were such dangerous creatures. They feared they would escape and sneak out into the free world, growling and hissing from the alleys of Pisa. My tall shadow leaned over them. They were unable to mind. I urged them forward. They bit the hands that fed them. I was trailed and I was tribulated. Worse luck, they denied me books, pens, laces on my shoes, as if my righteous old man's body would goose-step straight to hell from a cat's cradle noose. In short, I was fucked. Why did I denounce that pimp Roosevelt and his coven of banker whores? I needed the money. Their enemies paid me well. I became a rasping, buzzing hornet in their capitalistic arses. But I also did well by my friends. In 1954, Hem, who owed me, said, "It's a good year to release poets." I responded, "All of America is an insane asylum." Yet, they released me from the bug house anyway, dropped the treason nonsense. Like Pithos, all of the worst parts of me escaped St. Elizabeth's bug house. Like a swarm of arrogant stingers, I landed back in Rapallo, a plague on Italy's vines. Finally, they recognized I was not only a lunatic,